Hey y'all, this is Preston here with Barely There, here with another long movie review for you. This is a movie that has been regarded by all to be pretty bad. For the past week or so, I've kind of just been in this weird slump of just coming across some pretty boring, bland, and blah movies. And a few weeks ago, my good buddy David and I, who I reviewed Avengers Endgame with, just thought on a random night just to review this particular stinker of a movie. And this movie is, of course, Fant4stic 4, or as I like to call it, Fant4stic. This is a movie that I was really excited for when it first came out in 2015 because I am a fan of the Fantastic Four. I think that they are a good superhero property. It just never got the right team behind it to really bring it to the forefront on the silver screen. And I mean, there's some hope for the future now that Marvel and Disney have the rights back after acquiring Fox. But yeah, we just thought this would be a fun movie review to do. Like I said, we saw this back in 2015, and yeah, just kind of on this weird kind of trend of just me seeing bad movies. So why not review the movie that kind of started it all for me, not counting Dragon Ball Evolution, but we might get there someday. Okay, but yeah, without further ado, this is our review for Fant4stic. All right. Okay. Hey all. Yeah, here we are back at it again. Preston, barely there, and here we are. Let's see. We have great movies that we love and that we enjoy. Those that we can't wait to talk about and share with our friends. Movies that kind of bring us closer together as we realize millions of people across the world watch them. Nothing what I just said is relevant because we're here to talk today about Fant4stic. And you might be asking which Fantastic Four movie, Preston, are you choosing to talk about today? Are you choosing to talk about the terrible 90s Fant4stic that came out but was never released to theaters just so they could keep the rights to the characters? Fox? No, not that one. Are you talking about the first two movies where Captain America flamed on and pretty much bombed at the box office with the second one and never got a third? Thank God. Or are you talking about the only other one left, Fant4stic with Michael B. Jordan, before he got his senses right and started playing Apollo Creed's son and was in a good Marvel movie? There's no right answer to this question, which Fantastic Four is a good Fantastic Four movie. But I think we've chosen, I believe, the worst one to talk about tonight. We're talking about Josh Trank's Fant4stic, which fans have called it because for some idiotic reason they put the 4 in the middle where the A is, and visually and logistically speaking, it's just stupid. Here joining me today once again is David Lee Harvey.
Kicking. What combo you picking? Yes.
Yes. That is him. And as you can tell, he's super excited to talk about this movie.
I'm stoked.
He's stoked. So stoked.
Hey, so stoked. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming. I had to physically restrain David to do this movie review with me because, neither one of us particularly enjoys this movie. We were talking about earlier.
Actually, I'm bound in chains, actually, at the moment.
Yeah, that's how he had to watch the movie, believe it or not. And I don't blame him. But yeah, we're here to talk about Fant4stic. Fox's, again, lame attempt to try to hold the rights to these beloved Marvel characters that we all, and I believe now, did get our wish that they're now back over with Marvel under the Mickey Mouse umbrella that is Disney.
Uh,
You know,
they made it back
um,
home.
they made it back home. And if Spider-Man could do it, I'm sure Fant4stic can.
He gave
Um,
hope.
huh?
He gave hope.
He did. He did. He said, "Hey guys, right behind me," and they followed. Um, so yeah, the Fantastic Four. For any fan who follows the comics, everybody knows the Fantastic Four. They Captain America was the patriot inspired to give hope. Iron Man was like the down to earth superhero, the man who became a superhero through his tech and his know-how. Spider-Man was the kind of everyday guy who was just trying to do right by the world. And the Fantastic Four section in the Marvel Universe was this a thing of family values, but also space and adventure and just having fun. Unfortunately, the movie doesn't cover any of that. We get a very depressing, very sad, very too serious, and believes it's clever for its own good kind of a story.
And it sucked.
and it sucked, as David so eloquently put it. Okay, we're just gonna do a quick run through, just give our thoughts on it, and we're gonna call it a day. This movie doesn't really deserve our attention, but here we go. So beginning of the movie, we're introduced to Reed Richards and Ben Grimm, particularly as kids. This is really stupid because the teacher is letting them do this report in front of the class of like what they want to be when they grow up. And Reed's goal is like very ambitious. He wants to create, this machine, this teleporter. And these kids are particularly young. And I remember the teacher just like putting him down hard. Like, that's ridiculous. Don't do that. That's just say you want to be like a astronaut or something. I'm like, whoa.
You're a fool for what to love.
Right. Like, dude, hey, SpongeBob, like, chill out. Like, they're just kids. And I think you agree with me here, David, because we get that scene, and then Reed and Ben putting the little parts together. It feels very almost Spielberg-like, and the whole kind of like 90s, kids, up to something, creating something together. But I feel like they spent way too much time being kids and trying to develop that. To me, I think they spent too much time on that. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think they kind of what was it for just like the first part, like Reed's invention. I guess they were trying to like pan into, because that was the same invention that came back into the movie, right?
Yeah.
Like later on.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was just like a lot of that they could have just kind of. It was almost unnecessary,
It was
like
almost unnecessary. Yes.
That intro with the kid, that them as kids did,
Right. Because after that, we flash forward to them as high schoolers. We see Jamie Bell as Ben Grimm, and we see blanking on his name, dude from Whiplash, as as Reed Richards.
Mm.
And I gotta say real quick, I thought the casting for this movie was pretty spot on, except for one person, which I'll get into later. Yeah. And Grimm, I mean, yeah, he's supposed to be like this kind of big, surly kind of dude, or like a true New Yorker. But I always kind of like Jamie Bell, and I believe the gentleman who plays Reed Richards, like I can kind of buy him as like a younger Reed Richards. He kind of has like that nerdy kind of gawkiness about him. Like I thought he was okay. We've seen them be good in other movies before, so yeah, sure, why not? So I really feel like the movie could have started here, man, because they're grown up, they're in high school. He's showing his teleporter demonstration. Ben had one job. He was supposed to bring the air whatever item for him to like demonstrate the teleporting thing. And Ben he looks so out of place. For one, he does look much older than a high school student. And two, he's just standing there chewing gum. You can totally tell like Reed did all the work. Like he's just there, because they were kind of cool as kids. They don't look like two people who would develop a bond, and we really don't see that in any part of the movie. And then they do the teleporter. It does vanish, but they can't bring it back. It's not perfect. somehow SpongeBob is still their teacher, and he's like he's still kicking it. He's like their Feeny, but worse, because he's like berating them, like, yeah, we don't give out medals to, like, magic tricks or whatever. This proves nothing. I'm like, dude, aren't you like the least bit curious how you made that model airplane like disappear? Like, what? You're not the least bit interested?
No, I don't need no details.
I don't need no details, right? I'm like, okay. Clearly, that's the most advanced thing there. I'm sure you got, paper mache volcanoes next to him. Like, why? You should be more interested in this. But for whatever reason, he's not. However, a certain black gentleman is. You get the late, great Reggie K playing Franklin Storm. You tell me, David. I don't know if he's just been just bumming around high school science lab experiments, presentations, just looking for that one person who's also working on the same thing that his team is working on. But he walks up. He's like, "You're just what we need. Interdimensional travel. We cracked it. I think you're the key. You should come work for us."
It was actually in the movie. It was on a deleted scene. It was his late mother, Helen Storm, who told him that, son, one day you will continue your endeavors of lurking around high school science fairs to find out the answer behind interdimensional travel. So that's where we find old Frankie. Take like 15. It's like probably his 15 like high school science fair where he's like kind of just checking out stuff. And so that's how he ended up there.
Okay, I did not. I thought that was legit for a second. I thought you were really gonna drop some knowledge on me. Like, oh, okay, well, yeah, why didn't they keep that in the movie, dude? Okay. You imagine just like Sue just being annoyed because Sue's there too. She's like, Dad, this is the 15th place, dude. I don't think so.
Yeah, I have no idea why this guy is here. Like, he is the actual legitimate like quantum physics scientist guy.
Yeah.
Who's like on to like some revolutionary like discovery and just state of the art technology. Why is he at a high school science fair?
Why is he at a high school science fair? I don't effing know, man. Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. But there's, as we'll come to find as we go through this plot, there's a lot of coincidences and discrepancies and plot holes all abound. So of course Reed gets recruited into the high-tech building, the Baxter building, to work on further research of this project. Ben gets left behind. They kind of have, I don't want to say a teary farewell because there's no chemistry between the two. Ben just says goodbye. And Reed goes on to study. He makes googly eyes. It's a lot of this movie's long. Like, the more I think about it, David, a lot of nothing happens because it's just like him just being in. I don't know if it's a school. I don't know if it's but there's like military involved with the project. Like, is it a college? Is it just an advanced think tank? Like, I don't know. But there's a library. There seems to be college students. I don't know. It's never made clear. So yeah, he's studying. He makes googly eyes at Sue for a second, and again, no real chemistry there. And then, okay, and Dave, I'm gonna let you start with the subject, but as you recall, I think, God, I'm gonna remember his name by the end of this, but the gentleman plays,
Teller.
I'm sorry?
Miles Teller.
Thank you, Miles Teller. Yes, Jesus Christ, thank you. Miles Teller, I think, plays a good Reed Richards. Yeah, Jamie Bell doesn't look the part of Ben Grimm, but I know he's a good actor. And even Michael B. Jordan, who we'll get to in a second, great actor. And yeah, different from the normal white Johnny Storm, but I was cool with it. But, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But, David, till this day, there's a reason why your cousin hasn't watched this movie. Because Jeremy Thompson, one of his favorite Marvel characters of all time, is Victor Von Doom.
Oh.
And this movie did him dirty, man. This movie did him dirty. So basically, Franklin Storm is basically a knockoff Nick Fury. Like, he's going around just recruiting these young bloods to be part of his team, right? He's bald. He just doesn't have an eye patch. He's going around. He recruits Reed. He's already got Sue. and then he approaches Victor. I think he's at like the computer doing computer stuffs. And you know, he was known to be kind of rogue, like he was kicked out of the program, but now he wants it back in because you know he's got Reed now. And through the power of plot, he manages to convince him to come back. And then that's when we get also recruitment of Michael B. Jordan. Remember the in-depth touching scene that he had recruiting his son?
The street race there?
Yeah, the street race. Yeah, when you think Johnny Storm, David. I don't know about you.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I think about illegal street racing.
That's the first thought that came to my mind.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah. I think you definitely got it right. Like there was you know, like I'm sorry, like I'm not very familiar with the source material. What was it like? Like Fantastic Four, from like the Ultimate Fantastic Four comic books that they were drawing from. You know?
Yeah, this movie was very inspired from it. The only main elements they took from the Ultimate Fantastic, which is a good read, by the way. It's just basically like the guys are basically at college level, and there's this experiment that Reed does, but Victor tampers with, and it's not because the original Fantastic Four, they went up to space and got hit with some cosmic rays, and in this movie and in the original Ultimate comic book, it is them going to a different dimension. I believe in the Ultimate books it was actually the negative zone that they went to, and they were exposed to and got their powers. In this movie, fake Nick Fury recruits these kids to go to another planet, which I believe they call like Planet X or Planet Zero.
Yeah, Planet Zero.
Planet Zero. And their reasoning is, well, yeah, we could go to a different dimension, a different planet, and maybe they have resources there that we could use to help save our planet. And I remember, like Victor, like they're talking about it. Victor's like, well, who cares? Because you know, we've been screwing over our planet for years and years and years. Maybe Mother Nature is just, you know, finally gonna give us what we really deserve. And I remember distinctly, like Sue just like rolling her eyes and be like, and she said the line,
along with me, we both rolled our eyes.
We all did. Everybody in that theater did. And she's like, Victor Von Doom over here. I'm like, okay. Like, if there's any like indicator that this movie's gonna suck, it was right there. I'm like, okay, it's all down. It's all down here. It's all downhill from here. Although I do remember, David, you laughing, like, not like hard, but like you laugh like ha. Like you laugh like a genuine laugh. It was when Johnny Storm, Michael B., he rolled up and he saw Victor Von Doom was back. He was like, "Oh, Adolf." What you
Yeah, that was funny. That was just good old MBJ, you know, coming through.
You know, I'm pretty sure that was ad-libbed. I'm pretty sure that was not in the script.
That was good. That's what. And again, man, like, yeah, this cast was just so good, you know, like this movie had so much darn potential.
So much like, darn potential.
Not even fun.
That's
like
not.
The cast could have really. This movie could have been just a knockout, and I just don't understand what it was. I'm not sure what it was. I'm not sure if the movie was rushed. I'm not sure if they just. I don't know what they had, some kind of heroes writer strike or what. You know? But it was just unfortunate that how, you know, that what this movie could have been, and it just fell short there, you know.
Oh my God! In every category, almost it falls well short of what it's trying to achieve. The only positive thing I can give this movie is, like, I like the look of it. Like, I like the aesthetic, like the way it was shot and everything. Everything looks clean and like kind of high tech as it should be. Like the camera work was good, but other than that, it's just, and the actors are trying. But other than that, it's just a mess. It's because quickly. Let's talk about things that are stupid. So we get this like kind of montage, a terrible one at that, where we see the kids working together, and a quote unquote even though again it's really badly done. Romance is building between Sue and Reed. They finally finish their teleporting machine. Government kind of steps in. It's like, okay, cool, thank you. Can all go now. We're gonna give this, to actual astronauts and people who are trained for this sort of thing. And of course, they're young and they're bitchy and they're little butthurt that they don't get to go. Which I kind of get the reasoning. They kind of have like this sit down moment. It's like, yeah, we all know who Buzz Aldrin is, but nobody remembers the dude who built the spaceship. I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But at the same time, like, they have a point. Like, you guys aren't trained for this. Maybe if you had been training, or if you talk to them and like would say like, hey, we know this tech, let us train for something like this. But they get drunk and they do two of the most stupid things ever. The first one, David, what was the first one? It involves a phone call.
I don't know. What was it? Who did they call? They prank called somebody?
They called somebody who has no knowledge in this field or tech.
Oh yeah, right. That's when that's when they call in their good old buddy BG, bro. Ben Grimm.
Sue Storm, I guess they assume, is busy doing woman stuff, but right. Ben Grimm doesn't have that issue.
No.
No.
And there's just like a complete removal of Ben from. I think Ben's the character was out of the movie for probably like an hour-ish, maybe not that long.
At least like half an hour to an hour. Yeah, 45 minutes. Yeah, maybe.
This guy
felt that way.
Right. It was almost like he was never really like coming back. It kind of felt like that. No.
A little bit, yeah.
And so I really feel like it was just. Like some exposition in the movie for them to get the four of them, the five of them together, because Ben had absolutely nothing to do with
nothing
going on, in contrast to like how he's always been like in the Fantastic Four Origins, Ben was always like the pilot. He was always
the pilot, the forerunner. And it's interesting. Because like in the other stories, like Reed feels like really responsible for like what happened to Ben, because he can't turn off his powers. He's like a legit rock monster all the time. But there's always that kind of semblance, like Ben like comes to terms with it, like he knows it wasn't entirely Reed's fault, that it was the cosmic rays, it was just the situation of it. But like the way they set up in this movie, like, no, dude, this is clearly your fault. Like, you called him up, which you had no business like doing.
Yeah. Reed's like, I know like 20 other scientists, but
20 other scientists. There's that blonde girl you've been working with. Why? He had to take a train. It wasn't like a block over. Like they had to wait for him to get there.
Decision to drink responsibly, and they all go trans-dimensional jumping and driving, drinking at the same time.
Yeah. But at the same time, Ben's pretty stupid because he goes along with it. He has no like real hard questions. Like, wait, has this thing been tested before? Are you guys really sure about this? I don't know. Like, this sounds pretty dangerous. And
it's just like, I mean, like, I'm not gonna lie, I would probably do the same. I would probably do that too. Like one of my dudes, if like one of my friends was like a flipping like scientist, and they just built like this like transporter like portal to quantum gate, and they're like, hey man, we need to test this out because like we're not gonna be famous if we don't. I'm like, I'm down, bro. Like, let's go.
Oh, that's your ass, man. I don't know. I would think twice, man. I would think twice. That's where you and I are different people. I don't know. I'll watch. Like, I'll stand here. I'll look at it. I don't know if I'm gonna hop in that pod. But yes, because they needed to fill a fourth spot, and because Sue was busy, I don't know, making sandwiches. They hop in the pods and they actually go to the other world, to the other planet, and they do some more stupid stuff. I believe it was Victor. It was either Reed or Victor. They're like kneeling down the planet,
the planet looks like it's on fire. There's like volcanoes and stuff erupting everywhere, unknown substances. And like he kneels down and touches something, and then like the ground starts to give way, and they're all like scrambling to run back to their teleportation pods. And I remember I was really stupid. Victor falls down. They leave him behind. The other three manage to get back to their pods, and like a rock slide like hits Ben, and then like Johnny's pod has like fire in it. Nothing happens to Reed's pod.
Right. Now, just to make this clear for our listeners, I haven't watched this movie in a long time. I haven't seen it in a while. I think I watched this movie like one time, and the year came out in 2015. But I do remember. When this part happened, and like they all like the three of them ran back to their pods. Yeah. I remember Ben getting in his pod, bro, and he was just getting blasted. Like there were like so many rocks. Like I mean, like even if he didn't got I don't know, quantum gated, like turned into the thing, he still would have looked like the thing, even if they're just regularly, because there are so many rocks. It's like somebody put him in a sandblaster. He was getting lit up.
It's like a squad of Geo dudes just rolled up.
They're like, hey, big grip. Got him, dude.
They did. They got him hard.
Right.
I remember him screaming. Too. Like the rocks didn't look heavy. There's a lot of them, but they're like pebbles for like the most part. And he's like, ah. Like, okay.
It's pretty crazy. And Reed, what happened? Reed was stretching. Reed was trying to get to Ben. He was trying to help Ben. Like he was like stretching his arm out like towards Ben. Apparently, it was a very stretch because
I guess so. That didn't even occur to me. God, that's weird. How like they make the other two like very obvious, like how they get their powers, and Reed's he's just trying to outstretch and reach Ben's pod, I guess. And then in the meantime, for some reason, only Sue gets alerted that the machine is working. So she rushes over there, tries to help out. And as they arrive, she gets blasted too. And some of the energy hits her. And then this next scene I thought was kind of cool. Like them arriving, like Reed's crawling along the ground. He realizes his body's stretching and he passes out. You see like the effects of what happened to all of them. Johnny's constantly on fire. Sue's like disappearing and reappearing. Ben, of course, like you kind of see him in the shadows. They treat him like a monster, which I thought was kind of cool. I believe that's when Reed is outstretched on the table and he starts climbing through the vents and he escapes. And here's the thing. Okay, so now we've arrived. He's screaming like through the vent. Like Ben is like really scared. He's like, Reed, help me. I don't know what's happening. And like Reed's like, it's okay. I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna get help. I'm gonna fix this. Don't worry. And you see him crawling through the vents. He reaches outside. And I remember very distinctly, this is when it fades to black. And it's like 1 year later.
Yeah. It was so unnecessary.
It was so unnecessary.
Like I do now to mention, like I do feel like this take on a movie like them, the Fantastic Four getting taken into government custody. I do feel like that is like a realistic take on like what would actually happen. You know, because like in the other movies, and I haven't followed all the comic books, but it seems like in other renditions, like they're like, yeah, these 4 people have superpowers now. That's awesome. Let's sit back and watch them do the things that they do. You know, right? Like these dudes, they would have got taken into government custody. You know, like this is what would have happened to them. Like in the 100% for real. You know, you know, like which we see, like you see like characters, you know, like the Hulk and the MCU. You know, like they're always trying to like get the Hulk under control, you know, because he's this big giant like killer like green guy hopping around. They're like, we can't have that, you know. So do kind of, I guess I do appreciate that fact, but yeah, at this point in the movie, it was just, if it yeah, this was like a moment of momentum, like right after they got their powers, but it was just such a, I don't know, it was just such like a letdown, like almost like a honey dicking, like they got their powers. You're kind of just like excited to see like the movie progress, because
Right.
I think that this, I don't remember exactly, but I feel like this was quite a bit into the film,
Yes,
where
man.
this happened.
Yeah, like an hour and a half in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
It
kind of
was
just like,
quite
yeah.
a while in. And yeah,
Like-
the movie doesn't have. I'm not saying every movie has to have big superhero fights and explosions and action, but for the most part, it's just a bunch of people talking like fake science for the most part, and nothing really exciting is happening on screen. And the stuff they're talking about isn't deep or something you could actually follow. So you're just not being entertained at all. And the one time, I guess you could call this, them going to the other planet and then escaping an action sequence. But even then, it's not even played up as fun or exciting, really. It just seems like the movie just wants to get through, because it just very quickly jumps to 1 year later. And then that's when we see that apparently the government or the military or whatever, they're kind of turning them into weapons, Human Torch is, flying around, mastering his powers. Sue Storm is, creating force fields and pushing crates away. And like you mentioned earlier, David, when we were talking, apparently Ben Grimm has been on a killing spree.
Boom, headshot.
FPS Doug out here. But yeah, he's just a rock monster, just like taking out tanks and terrorist groups, and he's killing people. Like, it has a kill count on his screen.
And those kills, bro.
Those kills, man. And it's weird that they never touch on the fact, like, I would imagine that would mess up Ben's head like pretty dramatically. Like, he was just a kid. Like, he was just like a graduated high schooler, and then he's a rock monster, and now he's been killing people for a year apparently. He's like, that's pretty twisted,
Right.
Where's the old thing with the cigar in the mouth and the clobbering time, like with
right.
Yeah, this movie doesn't pay any respect to the spirit that the old comics had. And the movie, I feel like the movie's embarrassed that it's based off the Fantastic Four, and they're doing everything that it can to get away from that silliness instead of just like embracing it, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, they definitely wanted to do. Yeah, and it's kind of, it's honestly what we see every time there's a remake or a reboot of something that's been out for so long. Like all the comics, all the Marvel comics, they've been going on for superhero comics have been going on, forever now, for decades, and every time something's like reprised, we see like the times take on it, so they were trying to go for something, and it just, I don't know, like,
I don't know.
I guess they wanted to be moderate, a little more gritty, like that bit of a more realistic take that I really appreciate that the MCU has. Like, sure, we got our ridiculous like space gods and things like that, but it's still like, I that's one thing that the MCU, I feel like, has done such a great job, was like they take these comic books and they put like a realistic spin on them. I think that honestly, though, Dark Knight kind of takes the cake for like realistic Batman junk, though.
Yeah.
Like that trilogy was just, but yeah, this was just there. I remember, they're testing the government's like testing their powers and stuff like that. And Johnny's like flame on in this movie. It was like, so I don't know what Michael B. what MBJ was like. I think he was just being MBJ, and it's like whenever I think of Flame On, whenever I think of Johnny Storm saying Flame On, it's always like kind of like a little ampish kind of feeling they give.
Like he's like, okay, time to go. Like it's fun.
Right. Like, let's do this. Like Flame On, like I think like at the lowest like acceptance of a Flame On, he would probably go like Flame On.
Quick. Yeah.
Right. It's always like, yeah, dude, like Flame On. It was kind of like a morphin time kind of.
It was a morphin time. And you always got the sense like he was doing it for fun. Like he didn't need to say the words. Like he was just like announcing it, Flame On.
Flame On. But dude, Michael B. Jordan, Flame On. It's just like, it was Flame On.
Yeah. He said it like he was embarrassed.
Right, it's like he didn't want to say it.
He didn't want to say it. All right, Flame On.
Like it was just so. It wasn't cool. It really felt flat. Like it
really. Oh my god!
I kind of see like what he was trying to do. Like he wanted to. He's like, okay, I'm this cool. I'm this black suave.
I'm cool about it. Yeah. Yep.
Right. Like you might make my flames purple. Like what I wanted to say.
Hey, Sam Jackson.
Right. But it was just like, meh. Yeah. So.
Tuesdays.
Yeah, at least it's going on with the three members of the Fantastic Four, being used as weapons, while Reed is hiding. He's a fugitive now, hiding in Central America, apparently.
Central America. He's trying to work on a teleportation device again, and trying to see if he can undo what he did to him and his friends, But eventually, they Sue figures out how to catch him, and then they arrive, and Ben headbutts him. It was a pretty lame, like, because there's this sequence where Reed's trying to get away from them, and he kind of does until Ben hops down, and it kind of startles Reed at first because like the first time he's seeing him like in the light and like what he really is, catches him off guard. I think we're gonna get like a cool, quick super showdown between the two. I remember him just kind of grabbing Reed and just headbutting him. I'm like, oh, I guess that's it. And then they bring him back to the compound or whatever, and they show that they need Reed's help because they want to go back, of course, and do what they were doing, and also because Victor is still trapped on the other side. The more I talk about this movie, the more disinterested I've been. They bring okay. Here's something that's kind of interesting. They actually find Victor and they bring him back, and he looks like I've heard many different comparisons. I've heard like he looks like a crash test dummy that looks like he'd been out in the sun for too long, and I think I heard. I don't remember if it was Double Toasted or Jeremy Johns, but one of them, they did compare him to like a putty from Power Rangers.
Yeah.
That just had like a glow stick stuck up its butt or something.
That's pretty accurate.
It's pretty accurate. I think so. Maybe he's just on the moon and just Rita just got to him. I don't know. And he looks so bad. This is the reason why Jeremy never wanted to see him, because he knew in his heart that they did this character wrong. And Victor is supposed to be this very smart but also very cynical and crazy egotistical ruler of Latveria, and this is not what we got. We got a Victor who's just like this snobby know-it-all kind of genius, and he's also a man that's in a suit, and apparently this planet just turned his flesh and his skin into this metallic like material, and he's pissed, and he's not here's the crazy thing, he's not pissed that he got left behind. And I remember this specifically from Double Toast's review. He's not pissed he got left behind. He's got pissed that they found him and took him away from the planet. Apparently he was happy there. I don't know how or why he was happy there, but apparently he was enjoying his time there. And he gets up and he starts just like brain blasting and just telekinetically like blowing people up, like their heads and chunks and stuff. Like it's pretty gory, even for a PG-13 movie. And like the whole time they're like trying to stop him. And then I remember watching Double Toast's review, and they're saying like, why are you guys trying to stop him? Let him go back. Like if he wants to go, just let him go, and then destroy the thing so he can't come back. Like why are you guys trying to stop him? It makes no sense.
Yeah,
He's too dangerous here. Just let him. If he wants to go back to that dusty, crazy ass planet, like just let him go.
right. Yeah, I mean, because he wanted, well, like he wanted to like, he was back on that whole thing, like the human race is bad for the planet, blah, blah,
yeah.
blah, and he wanted to like destroy the human race so he can rebuild Earth in his like own way, something like that. So he was like, wasn't he going to use like the, I don't know, like the
machine, the pods or whatever,
like, destroy Earth or something of that, to kill all humans? That's what he was going for, something like that,
He was, but like at the same time, fine, but let him teleport back real quick and then just like shut down or just destroy the thing that that the teleportation thing that they're using, so he can't come back. Like why? Like to just try and stop him like that? It just seems so. It seems so ridiculous. Plus, this is kind of jumping ahead, but like he was like with like a Jedi, he was blowing up people's heads and stuff, man. And I never understood why, when the Fantastic Four finally like show up to like square off against him, like why didn't he just start doing that? Like he was doing other stuff. Like did he just forget he had that power where he could just instantly stop people? Oh, because just as Victor's about to teleport back and enact his plan, he runs into Franklin Storm and he blows him up. He blows his head up too, but apparently just slightly enough so he can still have a few last words. And it's supposed to be played up as this emotional scene. Michael B. and Sue Storm, they're kneeling down with him, but it's not emotional because we don't know anything about this dude still, and it's kind of weird because they don't touch on their history at all. Between the other three of them, like it would have been interesting to figure out like why Sue was adopted by him, and how close maybe they used to be really close and they aren't anymore. But it's supposed to be played up as this touching scene, and like I just didn't get it. Like I just didn't care at that point.
Yeah.
Sure.
There's a lot of attachment to characters, and for me as a viewer, as well as like chemistry between the characters in this movie. Yeah, it's like you said there. It was kind of like, oh, okay, like yeah, he's dying, but it was like it wasn't like it's still like it's like, oh yeah, I guess you guys are brother and sister, and you guys are both his kid,
right?
Yeah, it's very.
But we're never shown like he was we're never shown that him being a parent to them. So
right,
it just feels like so forced.
Yeah.
And I think most of the movie, and it's not because she's white and he's black, it's just like, and I never had the sense that they were brother and sister. Out of all four of them, those two act like the most distant between in terms of like friendships, like supposed to be like forged between them. I feel like Johnny and Sue seem like the most distant, like the most like strangers to one another. Which is weird because they can't be, because they're family technically speaking.
Yeah.
It's really weird. Like, I don't know. So they go follow Reed They follow Doom back to the planet. They show down a lot of that. This is just a bad CGI mess we got going on. And the one takeaway I remember is that I don't remember exactly how they do it, but they managed to get close enough. They use quote unquote teamwork, even though it doesn't really feel like it. But I remember the worst part. Okay, so in the very beginning of the movie, when they were kids. Ben has an older brother, and he's kind of a dick. And I don't even think Ben did anything, but like his brother just walks up to him, smacks him up, like pretty hard, like up against the side of his head. He's like, "Hey punk, it's clovering time." He's like, "Hey dude, that was uncalled for." And then for whatever reason, I guess that just always stuck with Ben, because like Ben lands the finishing blow, and he says, "It's clobbering time." And much to like what you were saying with Johnny's catchphrase, you know, with the flame on, David. This was like this was the cherry on top, because he says it's clobbering time, and he hits Doom away, I think into like a sky beam or force field or something. Kind of just disappears, and it just felt so forced. It made no sense, because it's clobbering time. That was like his flame on. That's his like yeah, it's go time moment, his morphin time moment. And when you think about the context, when oh yeah, you like to say that thing where you know your older brother was physically abusing you, like what? I don't.
Childhood trauma always stays with you.
It does. Maybe that was him trying to turn a negative into a positive. But out of all four characters, I think we spend like the least amount of time with, as you mentioned, he disappears for like an hour. Like we spend the least amount of time with Ben. Like we're not shown the movie through his eyes like at all.
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean that would have been like a cool arc or a concept, like him just kind of dealing with that and turning that negative into a positive, but we don't. He just randomly says it in this moment. So they defeat Doom. They go back to Earth. It's saved, I guess. And for some reason, the four of them managed to negotiate with them getting like their own floor, science lab in the Baxter building. And two really bad things happen here. David, I remember you pointed this out after like we first watched the movie, because they're trying to come up with a name for themselves, and like they're brainstorming, and Johnny out of nowhere, again, stuff just happens in this movie for no rhyme or reason. Johnny out of nowhere says like, "Hey, how about you know the I forget like the three somethings and the thing that nobody wanted."
Right.
And I remember you saying like, "Damn, dude!" Like, Jesus.
There's just always been, so for anybody who knows the Fantastic Four, you know there's always been banter between Johnny Storm and Ben Grimm, the Thing and the Human Torch. The Johnny Storm always kind of messes with Ben Grimm. That was just like his thing. He always kind of annoys him, you know, like pesters him and stuff like that, you know. But none of that. Good fun. Right, it was always in good fun. None of that happened in this movie, though.
No,
until the very end. There was almost no interaction between Ben and Johnny at all in this movie. I really don't remember them even talking to each other.
Yeah, I don't think they had any lines against one another. Yeah.
And so at the very end, when they're trying to make a name for themselves, MBJ just comes in with this like low, bro. Like it was just like, dang, dude. He says, yeah, like I don't know, like you said, Preston, like the three amigos and the thing that nobody wanted. I was just like, dang, dude. There was no build up to that. There was like no warnings. It really just came off as cruel.
Just rude and just spiteful. Like, did he steal your girl? Like, what did he do to you?
Right.
Dude, man, yeah, that was and the way he delivered it too, like it wasn't joking, like ha ha, just playing. Like there was no Will Smith charisma. Like he really, like he rolled his eyes up at Ben. He's like, yeah, the thing that nobody wanted. Like, dude, right? Take a chill pill, man. Yeah, that wasn't called for. So the name call of the thing, the Victor Von Doom over here, Flame On, the clock, like I said, it's like this movie is embarrassed to say these things. Like it feels embarrassed. It has to reminds you that it's based off the Fantastic Four comic books, and it shouldn't. It should embrace it, but it doesn't. And then somebody comments and like how far they've come and like whatever, and Ben's like, yeah, it's fantastic. And then Reed's like, what'd you say? It's fantastic. And Reed's like, hey guys, I got it. And like the movie is like so embarrassed it doesn't even say it. It just cuts to black and you just see the title. Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Yeah. There's that, and that's it. That's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing.
Did this movie have an after credit scene?
I was just gonna ask you that. I remember we did sit through it. I don't believe there was.
That's very weird. It's like this movie didn't have an after credit scene. I know we talked about how Stan Lee didn't cameo in this movie.
Yeah.
So it's like it's almost like this movie that wasn't supposed to exist. You know?
It wasn't supposed to exist. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the main reason why they made it was so Fox could still keep the rights to the Fantastic Four title. Marvel still has all the comic book rights to all the characters, of course, but just a quick history lesson. In I believe it was the early 90s, Marvel was kind of going bankrupt. And to save face and to save some money, they sold off the movie licensing rights to some of the characters. That's why, they sold Spider-Man to Sony to get some money. They sold the Fantastic Four and the X-Men to Fox to get some money to kind of keep them afloat. And but the stipulation is like every few years or whatever, they have to make a movie based on those characters to still retain the rights. Otherwise, they go back to Marvel. That's why we had the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, and that's why we had pretty much this Fantastic Four movie. So when you think about it like that you just think about like this faceless studio that's not putting out a movie because they think they might have something new to bring to the table or something fresh. They're only doing it for the money and to keep rights to characters. So yeah, it's just a big machine, and they'll dole out anything just to keep the rights to it. So it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad.
Sure.
And I think, to your credit, David, what you were saying earlier, like I feel like the movie has so much potential. Like I can see it. I can see where they're going, where they want it to go. And there's a unique idea there, but everything it tries to execute, it just fails.
Yeah. It just I don't know, and I feel like that that's a very huge a factor. Like there can be heart put into these movies, but if these guys are contractually obligated, these studios, to make these movies just so that they don't lose the rights, and so that's a huge factor, I feel like, into the success of some of these movies. Like you see like the non-success of some of these movies, better to say, because that's just not enough drive. If they only made this movie just so they can keep the rights to it, then we can definitely tell. We can see that there. And again, like, yes, like this movie just had they had every ingredient. They had all the ingredients, but they put it in a microwave instead of putting it in the oven.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they wanted it quick, done, easy, simple. So take it at a time, let it cook, let it bake, let it do whatever. And they just tossed all the ingredients in there, didn't measure anything, didn't plan anything out. It was just all slopped together. And what we got was this movie. It's still a movie that fascinates me, like every time I think about it. Because again, I see the potential there, and then
it's just interesting to watch a train wreck sometimes, just to see these kernels of these good ideas, and then just have them all just kind of like crumble in your hands as you're watching it. It's kind of fascinating.
It's like those two people like in a relationship that you think like, man, like those guys are like great for each other, then they just they break up and you like what, it's like these two people where you felt like they were like a match, made in heaven, and then they just like they just don't, they actually have a very nasty breakup,
Yeah.
That's what this movie was,
Yes, that's exactly what this movie was. What happened? Like that's just the overall feeling I get.
That's actually the first thing that pops up on Google when you Google Fantastic Four.
Is it really?
It's what happened.
What happened?
What happened? That's one of the things that pops up.
One of the things that pops up. Well, that's pretty accurate. I'm pretty sure people ask that like after the first opening week of that movie. Like Google's like, well, people keep asking this question. Might as well put it up in the autocorrect because I guess this is trending. This is trending.
Again, I really feel like that time jump, the 1 year jump, really. I mean, like the movie already wasn't doing good. I really feel like that was the kicker in the movie.
Yeah.
Like it just, it like what's the problem? What's the problem with it? You might be asking. The problem is that, again, going back to what we said, like the momentum, the movie was just picking up, and it was almost like a twist. I felt like it was almost like a twist because it was just such a turn that I didn't see the movie was gonna take. It was just like, what the heck? Why are they jumping forward a year? It just didn't make sense to me. I think it would have been a lot better if Reed would have broke out of the facility in some way, shape, or form in a time span of less than a year. He would have made it back to the facility and help break those guys out instead of you know what, man, the point of these guys becoming like government weapons is almost absolutely like unnecessary in the movie as well. Yeah, sure, they become government weapons, but what did that do in the end? It's like how does that add to like the credit? I'm sure I guess that's showing like, okay, this is how they learn how to use their powers, but Reed learned how to use his powers off screen for that year. It wasn't very fun to see like that year go by without like you really seeing like them learning to develop their powers. Like that whole part was kind of skipped, and it's just like, okay, they know how to use their powers now. It would have just been, I think that the pacing of the movie that just really killed it for me.
Yeah.
If we did get to see Reed coming back to the facility, breaking them out, them learning how to use their abilities in some way, shape, or form, and then squaring off with Doom in some way, with them going back through the quantum gate, that was just more. I guess that would have been more of a straight approach, but it just made more sense. That would have made more sense to me. Besides this very dumb time jump, that really just wrecked it.
Yes, just like you said, killed the pacing of the movie. It was right in the middle of the movie. If you're gonna do a time jump, either do it towards the beginning or at the very, very end of the movie. Don't do it, because like it's like right in the middle of the movie, and like part of me like kind of thinks the movie is two different movies. Like the first half of the movie before the time jump, like it's not great, but it's bearable.
Right.
And then the 1 year later pops up, and then it's like a whole nother movie that's just terrible, like all around. The movie just free falls. Like it's not a slope anymore. It just free falls, just straight down to the ground. So yeah, man. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, dude. If I didn't mention it, like, dude, that CG was just, oh my god. Where Human Torch, where Johnny Storm was flying, there's like some government jets, some like fighter jets that he was flying alongside with. It literally looked like they went back in time. to film that part. And I mean, like, dude, there's better graphics in the first Jurassic Park. You know,
my God, yeah.
It was just that was bonkers. That was
stupid.
That was ridiculous. I think they spent like $160 million on this movie. You know, and they couldn't come up with a better. I just feel like that, and that's another reason why I feel like they rushed this movie. Like, you know, that it makes more and more sense to me that this was a contract like obligated movie that they had to make. They pulled in like a cast. They had like a suitable cast for this. They came in like, you know, the Chronicle guys like saying like, hey Michael B, we're gonna make like the movie. Like get your friend Miles Teller. You know, like we can make this happen. But it was bad. This movie lost $100 million. I mean, it was 168 million. It made 168 million worldwide. But the budget was $155 million. So it's like they lost like $100 million from this movie. It was just this got worst director, worst prequel, worst remake, worst ripoff of sequel, worst picture that this movie got. And I mean that's giving them I think that's throwing them a bone there a little bit, you know. Yeah, I would definitely say for me, man, this movie gets a one fantastic out of 4, if I even give it that, you know.
Fantastic out of 4. Okay. I could not agree more. Once again, Mr. Harvey, it's the plot. It's somehow simple yet a clusterfuck at the same time. Like it's kind of breathtaking. Like it's just a foul storyline through a line, and yet so many unnecessary things are happening that it jumbles itself up with no rhyme or reason. Yeah, man. I see the potential, but I can't give a review based on potential. If I'm giving this a rating, I give it can I give like half of a fantastic part? Can I give 0.5? I normally hate point halves and decimals, like things like that in reviews, but like that's as close to a 0 as I could get. Like maybe even a 0 the more I'm really thinking about it. It's you're literally killing time off your life watching this movie. There's nothing redeemable about it. There's nothing awe-inspiring, nothing creative. You pay to sit down and just waste just under 2 hours of your life, essentially. Yeah, that's depressing. That's depressing. Yeah, 0.5 out of 5. It's just I can't give it anything more than that. I refuse to. Now, is it the worst movie I've ever seen? Honestly, no. I don't think it is. I don't know what my most hated movie is, but I didn't walk out of the theater like angry or super frustrated or anything like that. I remember just sitting there and just being like, just a sense of both like defeat, but also just kind of acceptance, I guess. Like, okay, look, these are the movies, you know, we're making now, I guess. And it's especially since, and I'm kind of rambling, but last thing, especially since, like you said with Marvel, you know, 2015, at that time, they just had, you know, the smash hit of the Guardians that no one expected. And I believe we didn't have it yet, but announcement that, you know, we were going to get Spider-Man. There was like a lot of good, fun things happening over on the Marvel end. But for whatever reason, DC just wants to be DC. Fox wants to be kind of stubborn and not take any cues from what the MCU has been doing, which is a bad mistake. You want to pay attention. You want to see your competitor, see what they're good at, and what you can do to tweak that. Or even though it's still under all the Marvel family, you still want to do your very best. And clearly they did not do their very best. I give this movie honestly a negative 5 out of 5. Like, it's just not. It's God, I don't hate many things in life, but this movie I truly did hate.
That's pretty bold. But,
I know hate's a strong word.
yeah,
Hate's a strong word, but if hate was a puppy, if this movie was a puppy, David, I'd punt this thing so far. I really would. I feel ashamed that I own it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you do own this game. You own it.
Well, no, ashamed's not the right word. I feel ashamed. I would feel ashamed. I don't own it, but I would feel ashamed if I had Dragon Ball Evolution. That I would feel actual shame for. But yeah, this movie, it just, I do not care for it. I can't see. And this is another reason why I think, of course, other than the millions of reasons we just give, the reason why both our scores are so low, it's because we cannot recommend, honestly, anybody to go see it. Like, you can't. You would feel, unless your worst enemy at work was telling you, hey, what movie should I watch tonight? And you just want to spite them. Yeah, Fantastic Four. Check that out. Trust me. It's totally good, man. Yeah, man. Let me know what you think.
You should just let your guard down and be super vulnerable. And just go watch Fantastic. Go watch
Fantastic Four. Fant4stic.
Expect something great. While being
expect something great. Expect a truly cinematic experience. It's an event when you watch this brilliant adaptation.
I really can't think of anything else to say about this.
Me neither. Hopefully this is the first and last time we have to talk about this. Just in our personal lives. Like, I just don't. I'm done, man. I can't. I thought with the Marvel Universe we have gone on for a place with movies like Catwoman and Daredevil. And now this. But yeah, that's our review. Fantastic Four. Sorry, I was just lost in my mind, just thinking like, yes, that's our review of Fantastic Four. As you can see, we highly recommend it. See it ASAP with all your friends and family. And then just get back to us on that. Thank you so much again for listening and staying with us through this very spontaneous and rather kind of, I don't want to say uninspired, but just, just this moment in time where we got to talk about one of our least favorite movies of all time. So just want to say thank you again. Thank you, David, for joining me once again. Really appreciate that. Yeah. No problem. I promise next time we will review a good movie. I think that would be nice.
I'll be looking forward to that.
Same as I. Okay, guys. This is once again Barely There. Thank you so much. We are there. Keep listening and keep watching.